Hello, my name is Kirioth, and this is going to be a bit of a shorter video because I just want to get a few opinions, a few viewpoints. I just want to see what you guys think about the possibility of starting a filthy Xenos army. So, I'll tell you what, before we go into it, I will just quickly lay out the armies that I've had so far in my 40k, I was going to say career, what career? In just the amount of time I've been playing the hobby, which is on and off like 15 years. I think I started when I was 15 or 16 and I'm 30 now. Or am I 31? No, I'm 30. I think I'm 30. Yeah, I'm 30. Anyway, so over the course of that time, I have been, in a way, unimaginably boring in terms of the armies that I have had. Because to date, I've had a Necron army, back when Necrons got their first actual full codex, and you had the one vehicle, which was the Monolith. You didn't get any of the fancy stuff that you get now. Transports, no, don't get any of that, none of that shit, no. To be honest, from what I remember, the Necrons that I had, back when they had their first full codex, played basically like Space Marines, except if you lost too many units, you just pissed off the battlefield, you all got teleported away and you lost entirely, which was great. I'm not really in the mood for Necrons again. Plus, a very good friend of mine has a fairly sizable Necron force himself, and just fighting Necrons versus Necrons, I don't know. I think I prefer something a bit different. I've also played Orcs, and I had a Cult of Speed army. I don't know if anyone is going to remember this. Someone might. It'd be nice if he did. We're talking probably over a decade ago at this point. There was a dude who had a ridiculous converted Orc like Speed Freaks army, and it was using a lot of non-Games Workshop things. And this is the amazing thing about it. It showed up in White Dwarf. It was a full a good few pages, and I think there was like a full 2-page spread in the middle that was just an image of his orcs, and his Storm Boys were like flying off with smoke that spiraled down onto the bases that kept them in the air. He had like converted battle wagons and trucks that were made out of like, it looked like something out of Mad Max. Like, he had giant monster trucks and stuff like that. I ended up building an army, a Speed Freaks army, out of just anything I could find. It's kind of mimicking that. It looked awful, it was totally shit, but I was inspired to do that. But again, gameplay-wise, it wasn't all that interesting because I just had a shitload of boys loaded up in a shitload of transports, charge across, and whatever survives the shooting phase charges in, essentially, is how that worked. Since then, though, it's just been Space Marines, or Chaos Space Marines. I had a 13th Company army, an actual 13th Company army, not a Space Wolves army, I suppose technically it was, a 13th Company army. The first 13th Black Crusade, that has now been replaced by the one that we've just had, you know, the whole Gathering Storm thing. There was a... Was it an Eye of Terror Codex, I want to say? Something like that. I think it was like an Eye of Terror campaign book, and in that book was the rules for a full Space Wolves 13th Company army. No vehicles, couldn't have vehicles, but you could take Wolfen. Not all of the 13th Company had been transformed into Wolfen, they were just, some of them had become Wolfen. And the 13th Company box that you used to get was, in the promo pictures, there was like gauntlets and legs. Like, one leg was Chaos and everything else was Space Wolf, and some of them had looted weapons and stuff, and like, it was mismatched armour. Christ, that's difficult to say. And I looked at that and I was like, oh my god, that is badass. Couldn't take any vehicles or anything. You could have bikes, but no vehicles. 13th Company. The box you actually got was just like half Space Wolf, half Chaos. So you ended up with like a dude would be Chaos from the waist down, stuff like that, which didn't look quite the way it had been advertised at the time, I seem to remember. But nonetheless, I had a sizable 13th Company army, which was, I found, either did really well or really badly, and there was very rarely like an in-between point. It was not an easy army to play with, just because of the complete lack of vehicles. You could take bikes, but nothing else. We weren't having any dreadnoughts, you weren't having any predators, any rhinos, any land raiders, none of that. You got none of it. But it was a fun army to put together and a fun army to play. And I had Iron Warriors. Now, admittedly, I loved my Iron Warriors army. This was, I don't know what edition this was in, I can't even remember now. It was however many years ago. But I do remember that Iron Warriors could take basilisks. And it was around the time where the Defiler got a model for the first... In fact, it's still the same model now, isn't it, for the Defiler? And there was no limit on Defilers for some reason. And as Iron Warriors, you could ditch 2 fast attack slots for 1 heavy support, or 2 elites for 1 heavy support. I can't remember which way around it was, but you could ditch 2 of 1 slot for another heavy support slot. So, obviously, I had 2 Defilers and a Basilisk and a Land Raider, because why wouldn't you have that? That was such an arsehole army, it was terrible. It was like the minimum. I just filled up the heavy support slots with artillery and a Land Raider. I had a Demon Prince, some Terminators, and then everything else was just shitty, bog-standard Chaos Space Marines, just to fill out the points and to fill out the troop slots. And it was literally just lay down covering fire, send the Land Raider up, and if you get into close combat, just ruin everything, because the Demon Prince by itself was like 200 and something points worth of model, which admittedly wrecked face in close combat. But if it died before then, you've lost. Congratulations. I've had, since then, another Space Marine army. I've got a Strike Force Ultra back there. Admittedly, the flyer still needs to be assembled, but whatever. And now there's Primaris. And there are Death Guard. Now I feel like I want to try something different. Something that I've never tried before. I mean, it's got to be some sort of Xenos force, to my mind. I'd really like to try, like Dark Eldar or Tau. But the fact is, I know nothing about them. I've never really explored them as an option before. I once bought a Tau Battle Force, I think it was, many years ago. But even that, I opened it, took one look and went, I don't actually want Tau, and then sold it again. And I've decided at this point that, yeah, the Primary stuff's cool, Death Guard stuff is cool, and I will continue to build those forces up. But I want to try something completely different, something that doesn't play like anything I've played before, and I have no idea where to turn. So I turn to you. You guys have got probably infinitely more experience than I say probably, what I'm talking about. There's more of you than there are of me, so collectively you're obviously going to have a shitload more experience than I do in armies other than the armies that I've got, and probably in the armies that I did play and that I'm playing at the moment. That's how numbers work. I don't know what the hell I was talking about for a second there. But yeah, you guys have got, obviously collectively, a huge amount of knowledge. You'll have been playing for years and years and years. I want something different. I want something new. I want to try something that is totally alien to me, both in terms of gameplay and in terms of appearance. So what would you recommend? And this is where I leave it to you. Let me know what army you think I should give a go. Tell me which army you play in terms of Tau, Eldar, Dark Eldar, whatever, why you play it, and why you would suggest someone else plays it. Let me know in the comments below. I will read all of them because I want help with this. I want to try something totally different to me, and I'm asking you guys to tell me what you think I should try. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing what you say, and as always, there's the usual array of bollocks all over the screen. Videos there, subscription, Patreon, all of that shit. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to, it's entirely up to you. I said it was going to be short, and it's still 11 minutes. Awesome. I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.